Would Evelyn Lieberman please come forward? Evelyn, it is my pleasure, that's fine. It is my pleasure to read a few excerpts from the citation from the SUNY Board of Trustees on your degree certificate. Evelyn Lieberman, educator, communicator, and public servant, you are a trailblazer as the first woman in U.S. history to hold the title of White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Working with and alongside some of the most influential and prominent leaders in the United States. Your distinguished career in public service makes you an exemplary role model for fellow Buffalo State students and alumni. Your career, like many other Buffalo State alumni, is rooted in education. After 4 years as a high school English teacher, your career path took you out of a classroom and to our nation's capital. You have since been a dedicated steward of our nation's most treasured museums and galleries in your current role with the Smithsonian Institution. This conferral of an honorary doctorate of humane letters is an affirmation of your substantive contributions, commendable leadership, and sustained dedication to public service.
No short jokes, please. I've heard them all. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Trustee Fata, to President Cohen, the SUNY Board of Trustees, distinguished faculty, alumni, and graduates, thank you for inviting me here today. To the graduates, my congratulations on a job well done. I know how hard it was to get to this day. And to all the parents and grandparents, brothers and sisters, children and friends, congratulations as well. I know this has been a family effort. I know that many of you held jobs while attending college, and how many have spent giving countless hours to community service. You all deserve a rest. This day marks a day of great accomplishment. To all our veterans and active military here today, thank you for your service. I want to give special thanks today to Dr. Bonnie Durand, who helped bring me to this day. And finally, I want to give extra special thanks to my wonderful husband, Ed Lieberman, who for 33 years has helped make the implausible possible. Thank you, you darling man. I am humbled and grateful for the honor given me today, and a little surprised. If you knew my grade point average, you'd be surprised too. As a graduate of Buffalo State and a native New Yorker, I'm delighted to be back. I loved Buffalo State. I loved the classes, the teachers, and especially my beloved English professor, Dr. Fraser Bragg Drew, who just died recently. Dr. Drew turned literature into music. I also learned critical thinking here and how to speak in public before a skeptical audience. We'll see how that goes today. I was quite the radical then. the first to wear jeans to class back in 1962. I never would have thought that 3 decades later at the White House, I would be sending young interns home to change their clothes because they were wearing jeans. I've been incredibly lucky. The life I've been given has been a huge gift. A poor girl from Brooklyn who came from nothing. I've had extraordinary opportunities and great encouragement from others. Because so many people helped me along the way, I believe that it's my responsibility to provide that same encouragement to others. I always make it a point to talk to young people starting out in the workplace, but I make a special effort to try to guide young women. That's what I want to talk to you about this morning, but I hope you men will see that this is for you too. The success of women should matter to you because I know you want the best for your own wives, your girlfriends, your sisters, and your daughters, not to mention your future female boss. So why do even successful women sometimes lack self-assurance at work? For some reason, there remains a confidence gap for women that doesn't seem to afflict men as much. When I was having trouble understanding this concept, someone explained it to me this way. When women wake up in the morning, they look in the mirror and they say, "I can't believe how fat I am." When men wake up in the morning, they too look in the mirror, and no matter how fat they are, they pat their stomachs and they say, "Hey, looking good." So what's up with that? So 50 years after the start of the women's movement, we still need to do more to prove ourselves in the workplace. And today's new buzzword, to be avoided at all costs apparently, is telling a woman she is bossy. To me, bossy is just another 5-letter B word they call a woman when she is acting like a man. I am bossy and proud of it. So let me tell you how I've tried to figure some of this out and what I've learned since leaving Buffalo State. Much of what I learned came from my mother. Rose was a single mom who raised my 2 older brothers and me in trying circumstances. That was quite unusual back then. We didn't have a lot, and she worked hard to keep our family together. One summer, she worked as a laundress at a fresh air camp so my brothers and I could escape the hot city. I learned from her example that you need to work hard and be determined to make your own way in the world. It's not enough to be told to follow your dream. A dream is a wish without action. You need to work to get what you want. I learned different lessons from my brothers, who taught me how to be tough by beating me up when I started to cry. I do not necessarily recommend this. But I learned how to defend myself and hold my own against boys, an important lesson later for dealing with men in the workplace. I also learned the importance of not crying. My mother paid for school, and I worked summers as a waitress in the Catskills to pay for books and anything else I may have needed. At the end of my sophomore year, my mother was having a very hard time, and she told me that I would have to pay my own way. My plan? I was going to play poker. This was another one of those key lessons I learned from my brothers. It didn't take me long to realize what a losing strategy that was. I should have guessed it when everybody wanted to get into a game with me, and my nickname became the Pigeon. So I took the bus down Elmwood Avenue and got a waitressing job at the Elmwood Diner. The weekend cook there was a mean dog. No matter how neatly I wrote my orders or how quickly I picked up the food when the bell rang, he was always yelling at me. I could not figure it out. On my last day of work, I ventured into the kitchen one last time to say goodbye to that miserable man. Of course, he growled in his usual charming way and said, "Where do you think you're going?" I told him I was graduating and going home to work as an English teacher in at Hicksville High School in New York. He was incredulous. "You go to school?" Then he explained that he had been purposely mean to me all this time because he wanted me to quit waitressing so I could make something of my life. So for 2 years, I had seethed in silence, not speaking up for myself or trying to understand why I was the unwitting recipient of some idiot's version of tough love. That was the last time anybody was allowed to bully me. I'm just sorry that it took me so long to remember the lessons my brothers had taught me years before. I also learned that if you are working hard at an honest job, there's nothing to be ashamed of, and no one is allowed to look down his nose at you. I've lived and worked in Washington for more than 40 years. The business of Washington, of course, is politics, and it wasn't long before I got hooked. My formal introduction to politics came when I went to work as press secretary to then Senator Joe Biden. During the 4 years I worked for him, he was chairman of the Judiciary Committee and held hearings for 2 Supreme Court nominees. When I had worked for the Children's Defense Fund before going into the Senate, I was made acutely aware of the importance of who sat on the Supreme Court and how the decisions made by these 9 individuals could affect all our lives for generations to come. But seeing the process close up, the meticulous preparation, the partisan fights, and the determination to win at all costs was eye-opening. But the Vice President taught me not only the importance of fighting for what you believe in, but also treating your opponents with courtesy and respect, because they are usually as well-intentioned as you are, and there is always another battle ahead. He was right. When I was about to go into the White House, I called my brother to let him know that not only was I scared, but I had no idea what I was doing, and that the prospect of working in such a fishbowl where the stakes were so high was more than a little daunting. He laughed at me, and he said, "Remember what Rose used to say, no matter how experienced a person might be, nobody knows how to do a job until they're doing it. And don't take a job unless you're scared. If not, it means that you won't be challenged and sharp." But when I got to the White House, things were moving so quickly, and there was so much to get done, there wasn't really any time to be scared. You just jumped in. There, I learned the importance of telling your bosses the truth, telling them what they may not like to hear, and that it's okay to make a mistake as long as you try to fix it, as long as you own up to it and try to fix it. Truth-telling is hard, especially to your boss, but in a job, that's what really matters. Exciting, yes. Glamorous, not so much. But I knew every morning that when I got up, it made a difference whether or not I went to work. So what's better than that in a job? At the Voice of America in the State Department, I learned the importance of America in the world. Not America as the all-powerful nation, but as a democratic and free society. When I traveled to other countries, in addition to my official duties, I made it a point to visit with journalists, with women's groups, with college professors, and representatives of non-governmental organizations. What I learned, much to my surprise, is that despite a country's sometimes negative official view of the United States, its people were intensely interested in our country, how we treated our citizens, how we responded to protests and disagreements, and always, mainly among the young people, how they could get to the United States, either to work, to study, or to live. People wanted to be heard and treated with respect, especially when their beliefs were opposed to ours. Many bristled under the stereotypical view that Americans had of them, just as I bristled when they criticized us. But in 22 countries, I learned, all people are the same. They want the best for their families, they want to earn a living, and they want to live in peace. So what do all these stories add up to? Work hard, be kind, speak up for yourself, treat others as you wish to be treated, admit mistakes, embrace change, tell the truth, and no crying. You know, from the time I was very young, my mother always told me, people take their cue from you. If you think you're beautiful, everybody else will think you're beautiful. You're beautiful, you're tall, you're smart, and no one can chart your life but you. So just go out there and show them what you can do. So all my life I believed her, until one day, after I had been married for a few years, my sweet husband, Ed Lieberman, said, "You know, you're always talking about the importance of telling the truth. So I think it's time I tell you this one truth. You are not tall." But today, I am tall, and you are tall too. So just go out there and show them what you can do. Thank you.